I'm in my dinosaur blanket. It's really soft and it's really warm. I'm in my dinosaur blanket. Okay, he's gone. So, beyond that, today we're gonna go over something really interesting, and it doesn't have to do with me being in a dinosaur-themed children's blanket, and it doesn't have to do with Ava coming in and low-key judging me without saying anything. But one thing I will say is it has to do with some extreme intelligence and a new crown to put on an animal. And if you're wondering, no, it has nothing to do with lions because that's apparently king of the jungle and they don't even live in the jungle. But that's a whole nother thing. That's just now. If you read the title, of course you might have already known what animal I'm going to say. We might need to put a new crown on. It's the orca or killer whale, which, interesting fact, the name killer whale is a butchered version of the name it was supposed to have. Because in English we say the red ball, in Spanish they say the ball is red. When its scientific name was put in, we took it as the English version of it when it was Spanish. So we see killer whale, but it's supposed to be whale killer. Interesting random fact. Just thought it'd be cool. But killer whales have interestingly enough, wow, Sean, I know words. Interestingly enough, they've done something really interesting. They've hunted great white sharks successfully, like so successfully that they come out without a scratch. They figure this out. They've got this on lock. But it's the method that they use and it's the way that they use it. It's A plus. A plus to all killer whales watching this show. A plus. But what they do is, well, first you have to know about the sharks. Great white sharks, as many people know, can't breathe unless they're moving. Also, all species of sharks have what's called a tonic immobility. If and that's how scientists are able to research them and tag them to get more information about them is to keep the sharks from like struggling and like thrashing around. They'll take the shark after they net it and they'll flip it upside down and it goes into a sleep-like trance. The body basically loads up the brain on dopamine to keep it from losing its mind while it's upside down. So basically, it's practically in a coma by itself. So that's how scientists are able to do all that because the shark won't fight back. But what they found was there was a small culture, and I will use culture and I'll explain that later. There was a small culture of killer whales that have learned how to successfully hunt small sharks using that. They'll grab them either by the fin or they'll hit them to like get them in shock and then they'll flip them over and they'll hold them underwater and then start eating them because the sharks can't attack them. But there was one killer whale that thought, this works on the small sharks. Why wouldn't it work on that guy? So it happened, and it was in 1997 when this happened. And man, I swear to you, I like they had like pictures and a little bit of video, but she had apparently come in and ran the shark on the side. Like, I mean, full blown. And these aren't small. These aren't small animals. Like sharks can reach well over 1,000 pounds, and killer whales can. Oh man, about two. I think it was up to 2 to 3 tons. And she was going full speed and ran the shark. So her plan was hit the shark, get it to at least partially roll over, bite one of its fins and roll it all and sit it all the way over. Now, using the fact that the shark has to move to breathe, she basically held it in one spot for 15 minutes, practically suffocating it, and then began to eat it. To eat it? Really, Sean. Really. It began to eat it. I swear, sometimes I wonder if I even know words. And began to eat it. There we go. So, the fact that they've learned this ability, uh, after that, that female had apparently taught that to other sharks in their little culture, and it became almost regular practice, which is insane. Like, you don't think of there being a regular practice of animals hunting great white sharks. You think of the opposite, that great white sharks are like the top predators in history. But no, no, this is the one time that great white sharks are pushed out of that number one spot. It's really crazy because you think that Jaws, like, sharks are just the bloodthirsty, ever hungry destroyers of the sea. When actually the opposite could be true. Sharks actually, no, great white sharks specifically, don't eat a lot. Um, some great white sharks will only eat one time a year because they it's so hard to get food. So what they'll do is they'll go, and that's why they're in such huge numbers in certain areas. For example, off the, off the coast of South Africa, where there's a whole bunch of, I think it was fur seals, either fur seals or sea lions, and I really feel like it's fur seals. Can't remember it off the top of my head, but and they'll go in vast, like vast, wow, Sean, in vast quantities, and they'll go up there and they'll eat as much as they can, but that's only because that's the only time they eat that year. You have to remember that a 66-pound seal can feed a great white shark for up to 2 months. I mean, I don't call that bloodthirsty at all. Actually, like, think that's really interesting how they go and they. It's sort of like how Nile crocodiles are with the wildebeest migrations. They spend that time to eat as much as they can, so that way they don't have to hunt food during when there's not much coming through the waters. So that's basically what sharks are doing. So they'll eat, and then they migrate out, in this case, to the middle of the Pacific Ocean. And sharks have this really weird thing that we've only recently discovered. I think it was 2004 when we found this out. Sharks are a built-in alarm system. One of the attacks on sharks happened just around an island where there were a whole bunch of sea lions that were breeding. And of course, sharks were there because they were stocking up for the whole year. And after the attack, literally the day after, there were no more sharks in the area until the next year. They completely cleared out. There were no sharks. Not only were they great white sharks, but any other species of shark in or around the islands were gone. So the next year, they tagged one of the sharks to see if it happened again. Where are they going? What's happening? And when there was another attack, they realized the sharks are getting out immediately. One of the sharks that they tagged, when hunting, they spend about most of their time between 30 and 50, 30 and 50 meters below the water. This shark, as soon as that attack happened, shot down to 1,500 meters and swam straight out to where they normally end up a few months later for the migration. And it's really odd. Like, I mean, you go from this high up all the way down here, and not only that, but it got to the migration spot in record time. It normally takes a week to 2 weeks to get there, and this shark got there in 3 or 4 days. It was bolting. It knew, hey, I don't want to be here. So that made scientists ask, well, why are all the sharks having the same reaction after this attack? And it comes down to sharks are a, oh, I said this before, but sharks are a built-in alarm system in case something like this happens. What's happening is there's an enzyme in the skin of sharks that releases this pheromone when like the body is decomposing or just after the shark is dead. And this acts so strong against sharks. It's currently being tested as a shark repellent, like because we've been able to make a synthetic version of it. It's currently being tested, be used as like shark repellent for beaches and different areas, but it's so strong that they tested on a lemon shark in tonic immobility. They flipped it over and it was just sitting there, and they put 1 milliliter of water in milliliter of water. They put 1 milliliter of the synthetic version of it a foot away from the shark, and as soon as that hit the water, the shark woke up from tonic immobility and started thrashing around until it got away. That's amazing. And then they did a wild test of like just random sharks. They threw chum out into the water and they attracted a whole bunch of sharks to come eat. And then they threw a little spray can of it into the middle of the sharks, and I swear they got out faster than a prostitute in church. Like, I mean, I literally just laughed at how fast they were moving away from this. Oh man, like it's crazy. They were all like sitting there eating, and then the second I don't think it had even touched the water before they figured it out. Before it even touched the water, they were gone. Like you wouldn't have even known that they were there had you not seen the video of them before the spray hit the water. Now, back to killer whale, because I'm going on a whole tangent about the old kings of the sea. Now, killer whales, as I was saying, cultures. They have different cultures, and I know of. I currently know of 4 of them in the Pacific Northwest of. I don't know which direction I'm facing right now. In the Pacific Northwest of America. So, and those are the transient. No, sorry. I gotta go in order of like the way I heard about them because that helps me remember it. The resident, and that's in. I believe they said from Vancouver, the Vancouver area, all the way down to California, and they hunt fish. You have the transient, which are a little farther north, and I think they go up to Alaska, like the southern part of Alaska, and all the way down to all of California. Those are the transient, and they hunt seals. And then you have the, let's see, the offshore. That's what it was. Resident, transient, and offshore. Those are the 3 main like cultures. And I say cultures because they hunt in different ways. They actually have different series of calls for each other. None of the things in one culture will mix with another one beyond the fact they're all killer whales. That's the only similarity between them. They hunt in different ways. They actually have they have names for their for other killer whales, but they're like sang in different ways. I say sang because that's most of their calls. If you put 2 of the same culture in a tank, they wouldn't be able to really communicate because they're from 2 different ways of life. You have one that's like always been hunting fish, and you have one that's always been hunting seals. They wouldn't know how to work together to hunt the same thing. And then you have a little oddball group, and it's the LA culture. and they're actually become their own culture. They were once a part of the offshore group, but they've sort of been a little hybrid group. They hunt fish and they hunt seals. They hunt, and they're also the ones that started the shark hunting thing, which they had learned from a group in just off the coast of Mexico, and I forgot the name of it, and I'm really mad about that. But which they learned from them because the group off the coast of Mexico has learned how to hunt small sharks and rays. Like, what they do is rays have the same tonic mobility as sharks. I think it's with all sharks, skates, and rays. But what they did is they'll swim down to the bottom and they'll swim upside down when they find a ray. They'll grab it by the front and then right themselves and flip the ray upside down, rendering it harmless, and then start to eat it. They figured out, hey, tonic immobility is a thing. Just flip them upside down, no problems. And so the LA group must have learned that from them. They learned how to hunt fish from the resident group. They learned how to hunt seals from the transient group. And they're basically the hybrid group. So it's really cool how one animal can have different cultures. And this is why I think that when it comes to animal intelligence, killer whales should be right up there with us. They are ingenious animals. I mean, the fact that you can learn how to, hey, so if this works with this animal, then why wouldn't it work with this one? If it's like, hey, I flip this thing upside down and it stops fighting. I wonder if it'll happen again. There's a whole lot of baby seals up on the shore, but I can't reach them. Maybe I can find a way to get to them. It's ingenious. And not only that, but the fact that they learn these things and then teach it to their young and teach it to the rest of the pod. And they learn things just as well as we do, and it's great. That's why I think they should be the undisputed kings of the ocean. I hope you had a wonderful time watching me wrapped up in a blanket with the stuffed up nose and talking about killer whales and sharks and how amazing both of them are.